You've been told your whole life to find your passion, follow your dreams, chase success. But what if that advice has been quietly making you miserable? What if the real question isn't what you want, but who you're becoming and why? There's a man whose ideas quietly shaped modern psychology, therapy, and even how we raise children, and most people have never heard his name. His name was Alfred Adler, and what he understood about human beings, about suffering, about meaning, is more relevant today than ever. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear might change the way you see yourself and the people around you. Alfred Adler believed one thing above all else, that human beings are not driven by instincts, not controlled by their past, and not at the mercy of their unconscious. We are beings of meaning. We move through life in the direction of a goal, a vision of who we believe we need to become. And whether we're aware of it or not, that goal is quietly pulling every decision we make, every relationship we form, every feeling we feel. This isn't abstract philosophy. This is your life. Right now, think about the last time you felt truly stuck, unmotivated, restless, or quietly unhappy without being able to explain why. Adler would say, look at your goal, not the goal you wrote in a journal, the invisible one, the one underneath, the one that says, I need to be admired to feel worthy, or I need to be safe to feel loved, or I need to be perfect before I can begin. These hidden goals don't announce themselves, they whisper, and they shape everything. Here's one of the most quietly powerful ideas Adler ever proposed, and I want you to hold on to this. The meaning of life is contribution, not achievement, not recognition, not even happiness as a destination. Contribution, a feeling of being genuinely useful, genuinely connected to something beyond yourself. He called it Gemeinschaftsvoll, a German word that translates roughly to social interest or community feeling. It's the sense that you are part of something larger than your own story. And Adler believed that nearly every form of psychological suffering, anxiety, depression, loneliness, arrogance, chronic anger, was at its root a symptom of disconnection from this feeling. Not weakness, not brokenness, disconnection. That's a gentle reframe, isn't it? You're not broken. You may simply be living in a way that's pointed too much inward for too long. Now, let's slow down for a moment because this idea has layers. Adler didn't mean that you need to sacrifice yourself, or that your needs don't matter, or that you should exhaust yourself in service of others. He meant something more nuanced. He meant that when we feel genuinely useful to a friend, a family, a community, a project, something settles inside us. A quiet confidence, a sense of rightful place. Not the loud confidence of someone who needs to prove themselves, but the grounded kind. The kind that doesn't need applause to sustain itself. Think of the moments in your own life when you felt most at peace, most yourself. Chances are you were engaged in something, connected to someone, creating something that mattered even if only to one person. That's Adler's idea made real. One of his most important insights was about what he called the inferiority complex, a phrase he actually coined, though most people don't know that. We all begin life small, helpless, dependent. We are all, at some point, made aware of our limitations by a parent, a classroom, a mirror, and from that early experience of smallness, we develop what Adler called a striving for superiority, a drive to overcome, to grow, to compensate. And here's where it gets interesting. That drive is not inherently negative. In fact, Adler saw it as the engine of all human development. The desire to go from -2+, from weakness to capability. That's what makes us learn to walk, to speak, to build, to create. The problem arises when that drive becomes distorted, when instead of genuinely growing, a person begins to perform growth, to seek superiority over others rather than over their own yesterday, to accumulate status, to dominate, to withdraw, to mask anything to avoid the terrifying feeling of inadequacy. You've probably seen this. You might have felt it. The person who constantly one-ups others in conversation. The one who is always the victim, always wronged, always unique in their suffering. The perfectionist who never starts because starting means risking failure. These are all, in Adler's framework, different faces of the same wound, an unresolved feeling of not being enough, expressed outward in ways that push connection away rather than build it. But here is the thing Adler wanted us to understand, and this is where his philosophy becomes genuinely healing. The feeling of inferiority is not a flaw. It is a starting point. The question is never whether you feel it. The question is what you do with it. Do you use it to grow toward others or to defend yourself from them? This distinction matters. Let's talk about courage, because Adler placed it at the center of a meaningful life. He wasn't talking about dramatic, cinematic bravery. He was talking about something far more ordinary and far more demanding: the courage to be imperfect. We live in a world that curates, that filters, that presents polished versions of lives, careers, relationships. And beneath all that polish is a quiet epidemic of people who are afraid to be seen as they actually are. Uncertain, still learning, sometimes wrong, sometimes lost. Afraid that if the real version shows up, the door will close. Adler believed this fear was one of the great obstacles to a full life, and his invitation was simple. If not easy, let yourself be seen anyway. Contribute even when you feel unqualified. Connect even when you feel unready. Begin even when you feel unprepared. Because the courage to be imperfect is not the absence of doubt. It is the decision to move forward in spite of it. And in that movement, something shifts. Not all at once, slowly, quietly, but it shifts. There's something else Adler taught that rarely makes it into self-help books, and I think it's one of his most important contributions. The idea that all problems are, at their core, relationship problems, not problems of intelligence, not problems of discipline, not problems of talent or circumstance. At the root of nearly every struggle, work problems, family problems, inner problems, there is a rupture or a fear in how we relate to others. This is not to say other people are the cause of our pain. It's to say that the healing of that pain almost always passes through connection, through learning to trust, through practicing the vulnerability of asking for help, through choosing to show up genuinely rather than strategically. Adler saw therapy, and really, all of personal growth, as a process of gradually widening one's sense of belonging, of moving from the closed room of the self-protective ego into something more open, more permeable, more alive. And he believed this was possible for anyone. Not because he was naively optimistic. He had lived through war, exile, loss, but because he had seen again and again that people change, not when they are judged, shamed, or forced, but when they feel understood, when they feel that their struggle is not unique, and when they are offered a genuine reason to take the next step. That reason always was the same. You matter to others. Your being here makes a difference, even if you can't feel it right now. So what does it mean, practically, to live by Adler's philosophy? It means examining the invisible goals that run your life and asking honestly whether they are serving you or protecting you from something you're afraid to face. It means finding places to contribute, however small, not as a performance, not to earn love, but simply because that act of giving is what makes the space between people alive. It means practicing the courage to be imperfect, to connect anyway, to begin before you feel ready. It means understanding that your feelings of inadequacy are not proof of failure. They are proof that you are human and that you care. And perhaps, most of all, it means shifting the central question of your life from "Am I enough?", which will never have a final answer, to "Am I useful?", which, in almost any moment, you can answer with a yes. Adler wrote that the person who has found their place in the world, who feels genuinely connected and genuinely useful, is someone who can face difficulty with equanimity, not because life stops being hard, but because they are no longer facing it alone, not alone from others, and not alone from themselves. That's the philosophy, not a formula. It's not a 10-step program, a direction. A gentle, persistent turning toward life, toward others, toward meaning. And here's what I find most beautiful about it. It's always available. In any moment, no matter where you've been or how long you've been turned inward, you can turn back. You can ask, what can I offer here? Who can I truly see today? What would it mean to live today as if I belonged? You already do. You just might need reminding. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear this. Don't forget to like the video, and if you want more videos like this, make sure to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.